On crypto, over the last week, Ethereum bulls putting on a show, taking the lead finally as ETH/BTC finds a bottom. That needs to be the long-term bottom. We'll look at some of the longer-term charts and I'll show you why. We have coin being added to the S&P 500, huge day, up 23% over there. And euphoria has returned to markets after fear. Markets love to go from fear to euphoria and euphoria to fear as fast as possible. And we have a great example with this tariff stuff over the last couple of months. Bitcoin daily bull flag trying to form. And a lot of people are saying, hey, why are we not going up on Bitcoin? The broader market is ripping the last 2 days on the announcement of a tariff pause for 90 days. Why is Bitcoin not ripping as well? Well, we also went up 10% while the market did nothing and went sideways. So in my opinion, this is the market playing a little bit of laggard catch up. We're not seeing any significant weakness in Bitcoin at this point. Again, this consolidation is just fine. Bulls want to hold 100,000 on the back test, and they're doing so at this point. We had hourly oversold, marking the higher low, at least for now. And again, we want to see that. We want to see back burners working. We want to see bearish patterns like rising wedges getting negated. This was a rising wedge that did confirm, but again, a 4-hour rising wedge into hourly oversold, and that hourly oversold marks a 12-hour higher low. So that's all just fine for the bulls. That's what they want to be seeing. Is it possible we set a 12-hour lower high compared to 105.8 thousand? Yeah, that's possible. And again, I'll keep going back to the weekly and reminding us, we will see weekly consolidation, and it won't be a major big deal because it's going to be due at some point. And there's a ton of space for a weekly higher low. But one time frame at a time, and right now I'm on the 12-hour with the higher low being set at 100.7 and our recent high at 105.8 as the most important levels in the short term. Altcoin bulls hope that anytime Bitcoin trades sideways, dominance drops so the altcoin bulls play catch up or even can lead a bull move. Let's look at the dominance chart real quick. There was a shift. What was the first shift? The first shift was after holding daily EMA 12 for over a month. So here's daily EMA 12 support. We hold it, hold it, hold it. We lose it. Okay, we know something's different. It only took one daily candle for us to say, okay, something is different from the last March 27th to May. For the last 5-6 weeks, something is different. We then got significant follow through as the ETH bull break got going. And now what is most important? Let's zoom out. Weekly is still an uptrend. I've been saying it for a while now. Things will significantly shift, and we'll be talking about an alt season, the next weekly downtrend that we confirm on this dominance chart. We had a big drop. We didn't confirm the weekly downtrend. We have not confirmed a weekly downtrend in dominance in over a year. So it will glaringly stand out to us when it happens. Bears, or I should say altcoin bulls, want to see as big a drop as possible so that when we do bounce, we set a lower high. And the absolute ideal scenario for crypto bulls would be when we do, if we do, set a weekly higher low, which is the most likely scenario on dominance. There's only two ways that that happens. That happens with crypto dropping and altcoins dropping faster, or it happens with crypto bull breaks and Bitcoin leading. So in an ideal world, you want to see Bitcoin hit an all-time high and follow through 110,000 plus. And while that's happening, the dominance chart is bouncing. And then Bitcoin trades sideways between 100, 120,000, whatever. And dominance confirms a weekly downtrend, showing altcoins getting a big leg up and joining that bull euphoria. So that is ideal scenario, best case, what bulls want to see. And we'll see if we get it. But for now, daily stair-step drop on the dominance has altcoin bulls happier than they've been in a while. The NASDAQ, as I mentioned, euphoria. So deal announced, straight up for 2 days now. Yes, we're trading like blue sky breakout. Yes, we're extended in the short term. Overbought RSI levels have not been mattering. We're just ripping. And again, it's euphoria in the market right now. We went from fear, massive fear a month ago into unsure, fear's alleviated, but are we out of the woods yet? And now it's just, everybody's looking back at all-time highs. And the NASDAQ has a little bit further to go than the S&P 500, but, less than 6% away now. So 6% to a new all-time high. And if we're going to break that fear low, we got to drop 23%. So again, without any kind of massive new headline, bulls are in the driver's seat. We're going to look for hourly higher lows. We're going to look for daily higher lows. We're going to be watching to see back burners if they play out. But again, it's just an extremely strong few days here. MSTR, trying a daily bull flag as well. Pretty much doing the same thing as Bitcoin. The daily uptrend is going to be our guide. So we had a daily support level established at 374.20. Bulls would love for the new higher low to be at 400, but it's not officially set yet. I did take a little bit more MSTY profit yesterday. At this point, my remaining position break even is down in the 16s. So I've got nothing to worry about. I can sit through weekly consolidation and have nothing to worry about. Coin added to the S&P 500. Just a 10% move over in after hours on the news, and then the bell rings and we rip another 10%. So extremely strong coin move. We've seen a bunch of crypto stocks. You had CEP with Jack Mallers doing its thing. It topped out after euphoria, but it ran hundreds of percent. NXTT announced they had Bitcoin on the balance sheet. This penny stock rips. Look what it did in 2 days here. 1,000 whatever percent. So crypto stocks have been showing us. And again, remember MSTR showing us relative strength weeks ago told us watch for Bitcoin and crypto to set these monthly higher lows because it's shaping up. We're getting clues that the market wants these crypto stocks. We've got BKKT had bullish earnings, I guess. So earnings response, it's up 50% today. Remember BKKT from forever ago? How are the miners doing? MARA, we're at, month plus highs, definitely still underperforming big picture. CLSK, very similar. Miners just still don't have the momentum. The momentum is elsewhere. It's almost like, the altcoin space. The miners had their runs 2021, and then we had another run early 2024, and the runs are happening. The big runs are happening in things that haven't had big runs yet. They're fresher. And you get that in the altcoin world. The altcoins that ran the hardest in 2017. Then we get a new wave in 2021. Maybe we get a new wave. You get the meta names that had their own new wave. It's everybody wants the fresh meat. And let's see, there was a Trump Sons stock. Got to get the ticker here. Trump Sons stock ticker. Bear with me, reading. Gryphon, Gryphon. So the news is announced that this is going to be the ticker. It's going to go public through a merger. And again, hundreds of percent. Got to be quick. Those kinds of moves, you're taking profit. And if you want to leave a, partial position to see if it plays out bigger picture, that's fine. But got to take profit into that kind of euphoria. But again, the stocks are showing us that there's blood in the water for the bulls going after crypto stocks. ETH, new highs here. Well, I shouldn't say that. Testing highs. 26.25 being tested. Again, it's a daily bull flag trying to confirm. We didn't even get to hourly oversold. It was front run a bit. That hourly RSI got down 33, 34 before the bulls showed back up. A little bit of a falling wedge there on the hourly. But bulls in complete control. Daily bull flag trying to confirm. So this is what I mean. Let's go 4-month time frame. And again, look at this tightening range. Low, all-time high, higher low, lower high. That has to be the higher low. I'm out of my long-term no-touch position if 1380 breaks. I guess I'll get more wiggle room. 1350. 1350 breaks, that's a huge red flag at this point. That's got to be the higher low, and this tightening range has to break bull. Now, that could be a year plus from now. We could bounce and set a lower high compared to 4,000. We could keep tightening up. Obviously, we want to rip and break 4,000 and test the all-time high. But that's got to be the low. Again, if that is not the low, major red flags, big picture. So where are our resistance zones from here? It's the tops from the way down. Remember this bear flag? So we got all this price action. We are now entering this zone. We are chopping around. So that's a resistance zone to be watching. Again, short-term support, we'll call it 2,400. I'm personally not going to be swing trading ETH on this move. And the reason is I've got plenty of exposure with my long-term no-touch bag, which has not been fun over the last bunch of months, giving back more than half of what it was. But that's my exposure, and it's plenty. The fluctuations that have been taking place the last bunch of months, certainly enough exposure for me. So we'll see how that tightening range goes. And again, ETH/BTC definitely looking like the bottom's in, but we still got to confirm a weekly uptrend. So just like the dominance chart needs to confirm the first weekly downtrend in over a year, ETH/BTC must confirm the first weekly uptrend in multiple years if this move is going to be for real. It's for real enough to benefit, obviously, with the move off of, we had a weekly stair-step drop. That breaks bull, big follow through. And oftentimes, when we do bottom, you get big, hard moves that, don't necessarily have to top out anytime soon. But when the top is hit, we must confirm that weekly trend change if there's going to be any hope for that long-term range. If we're going back to 4,000, ETH/BTC needs to confirm a weekly uptrend. But a great start. We've at least got space for the weekly higher low. It's been a while since we've had that kind of confidence. There's also a downtrend resistance line you can keep an eye on that's not anywhere near in play. That'd be nice to get back to that sometime in the next couple of months. But overall, let's see, we got Tesla just hitting another leg up right now. It's just, again, it's blue sky breakout status in terms of how we are trading. So that's a good thing for everything. That's euphoria, confidence. People are throwing money at anything that moves right now in terms of these runners. So what other altcoins? Binance, remember we were watching this weekly equilibrium that was just tightening up. I know it's boring, but volatility's coming. Watch for the break. Quick little higher low bull break takes place at 620, and we get a quick 10%. Now, is that a monster trade? I know 10% in crypto. So what? Not really worth it for a lot of people, but should be. I know a lot of people are going for 50 to 100% or multiple hundreds of percent, but when the big things are going double digits, definitely worthwhile. We are currently back testing a previous resistance zone as support. And the reason I'm keeping an eye on Binance is because that all-time high is not that far away. Another 20% to get to all-time high. So good sign for that bull break. We had XRP. Last week, we were watching for the potential of some bearish patterns on alts. We were looking at names like CRV and saying, okay, we've confirmed the rising wedge. If we're going to follow through for the bears into weekly consolidation, we must confirm these head and shoulders. And very quickly on, last Thursday? That showed us, no, these are not head and shoulders. And bulls saw that nice continuation move. So XRP, again, it's not a picture-perfect inverse head and shoulders. The right shoulder was very brief. We started weekly consolidation and only followed through 2.5% before we confirm that bull break. Now we're testing 260 resistance, this level. And then again, it's just another name that formed a monthly higher low off EMA 12. This is, you guys know I love EMA 12. And part of the reason is how good of a guide it is. Again, MSTR. monthly EMA 12 gets the higher low. Bitcoin, monthly EMA 12 gets the higher low. XRP, monthly EMA 12 gets the higher low. Did Binance do it? Not a great one. Definitely dipped well below it. But XRP. And for all individual names, you got to be watching the BTC pairing, of course. And so XRP, BTC, I was watching this falling wedge. It broke bull. That's great. But need to keep that up. The BTC pairings, what you want to see in an ideal world is, remember all the way back to 2017, 2018, we called it in the spotlight. And ETH is doing that. When you have the US dollar pairing doing something. Hey, new high? Nope, I keep jinxing it. $4. You have the US dollar pairing doing something, and you have the BTC pairing doing the same thing. Look how similar these charts are. And you can get little clues. One little clue, ETH/USD broke to a lower low. No follow through. ETH/BTC didn't break to a lower low. So that's a little bit of favor for the bulls. And it goes the other way as well. If US dollar pairing holds support, but BTC pairing breaks support, it gives you a little bit of a heads up. It can just shift your probability needle. You know, what's the probability that ETH is going to be a bull flag? I don't know, 50-50. Well, BTC held support pairing while USD did not. Okay, maybe it's a 60% chance now that it's a daily bull flag. So you can use it for clues. But again, the ideal scenario, if your altcoin's going to be ripping, it's both pairings doing the same thing on the same chart. It's almost like, you know, if you could have some kind of indication that tells you when it's when the correlation of those pairings is within a, you know, X% window, you know it's go time. And then once it tells you it's breaking out of that window and separating its correlation, that we know things are shifting. And it's also, you know, with ETH stealing the show here, ENS, you know, little low cap name, but ENS has been ripping with it. It's trying its daily bull flag. It's pretty much just a leveraged version in terms of the percentage moves, although ETH, it's pretty much in line. And you've got, how is ETC doing? I haven't looked. Yeah, same thing. So, you know, focusing on the ETH ecosystem names while ETH is leading the way. Got to break this resistance that we're testing. Bitcoin's testing a recent high right now. High of regular trading today. Getting there. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin tightens up on the 4-hour a bit. Nothing wrong with sideways consolidation after you make solid bull moves. But again, I'm in an environment right now where I've said this earlier, I'm just treating SPY and QQQ like we're in blue sky breakout. What does that mean? It means, number one, I'm not just shorting because we're overextended. The bears have to give me a clear reason. We got to drop big, and I say, okay, I'll scout a lower high. I'm going to miss an initial drop because I'm not going to be fighting the bulls on this move up. Number two, bearish patterns like rising wedges break bull much more often in this environment, and potential head and shoulders get negated, like we saw in these altcoins from last week. Number three, we're looking for backburners, so shorter term oversold conditions to mark longer term higher lows, like we had with Bitcoin's hourly. And that's about it. Those are the main shifts that I make when we are in a blue sky environment. It's essentially just letting the bulls do their thing, not fighting them, and buying the higher lows along the way. So again, I would not be looking short unless the only reason I would be looking short is hedging. If you've got, you know, a solid long swing position and you see a spot where you can grab a little protection right up near a resistance and, you know, only take a little loss, if that hedge gets stopped out, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I know so many traders have the, okay, we're dumping, we're in a clear downtrend, I want to be looking long. You just counter the momentum. And so many times, as we know, once the momentum gets going, it keeps going. Objects in motion stay in motion. What's that, Newton's laws of Physics? Object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. Well, we've got the objects in motion over the last couple of weeks. And again, just, QQQ is the perfect example today. Look at how many little rising wedges you could, is it a rising wedge? It just keeps grinding higher. Yeah, we're going to see hourly consolidation eventually, but, the probability of me nailing a top into hourly consolidation if I'm looking short versus just looking for the hourly high or low, you're much better off going with the longer term trend once that consolidation takes place. All right, reading the chat room, seeing what you all want to look at. Question about Trader Pro, which is our crypto alert system. So I would suggest, honestly, you need to be more specific than that. I wouldn't be looking at it as a whole. I'd be looking at specific alerts. The alerts that you want to be using right now are the back burners. And again, it's got to align with the most likely scenarios. So if I'm looking for a 12-hour or daily high or low, I'm looking for hourly oversold. If I'm looking for 4-hour high or low is the most likely scenario, I'm looking at 15-minute oversold. So ensure that the time frames align. You could also be looking at super stacks. Those are always good in terms of, if a super stack fires into a bull move, maybe it means taking a little bit of profit. Definitely doesn't mean short. So it would depend on each individual preset. It's the time frame that's going to indicate whether it's day trade or swing trade. The time frame that you're focused on. 4-hour and above, more swing trade. 5-minute, 15-minute, more day trade. ETH not even in a weekly or monthly uptrend. Correct. Yeah, that has to happen. ETH/BTC's got to confirm the weekly trend change. Doesn't mean we can't keep going. Again, it's got the bull momentum. Don't want to step in front. How many people did you see on social media? I saw a whole bunch that were talking about, an easy short on ETH at 2,300 or 2,400, quickly down 10%. It's just got this momentum from the non-believers and shorts piling in, helping it keep going. But yes, if this move, if we're going to get follow through, if it's going to be sustainable, you want to build supports on the way up. Don't fear consolidation. Establishing weekly higher lows in these names whenever it happens, it'll be a good thing. As long as we don't retrace, 50% plus, we need these weekly higher lows along the way. Nope. Fundamentals don't mean anything to me in this space. Ask the fundamental broader market bulls how they're doing. I'm watching a squirrel steal a corn cob from my garage. Whole thing in its mouth. That's a score. XLM. So XLM tracks XRP, does very similar things. So monthly, it retraced much more significantly. Again, look at this. This is just such a good, this is in line with the the ETH 4-month. Look at this equilibrium. Lower high, higher low, lower high is not officially set yet, but I'm just watching this as a long-term tightening range. You can be on the monthly, get some more details. Again, same thing. If 20 cents doesn't hold, it's a pretty solid red flag. That needs to be a higher low. Anything under 64 cents is going to be a lower high. But some point, when this tightening range, this forever many-year range breaks, it's going to be one to be paying attention to for sure because of how long it's been building. That's a good point with reference to BNB. The low percent movers, you can size up more on. It's the same thing in the stock world. If I'm trading, if I'm just trading SPY, I'm going to use a much larger position than if I'm trading Tesla. Tesla's going to be a much larger position than if I'm trading, something like CEP that has a lack of liquidity and way more volatility. Essentially, the amount of volatility in a given name dictates how large of a position size I will put on. And so, yeah, something that is moving less, has a lot of volume, like Bitcoin these days. Bitcoin, I'll put in 10 times the Bitcoin position size than I would on any altcoin, just in terms of liquidity. And it's because there's so much liquidity that you don't get the 50% two-day moves on it. SUI. So again, another one where we got to keep an eye out for any red flags that a monthly lower high is forming. We don't have any sign of it, but we don't want to get caught off guard. So this was a bull flag that confirmed daily consolidation, no red flags, nice and healthy. No official daily high or low is set yet, but bulls are clearly defending 381, 380. So we hold 381, we hold 383, 380, 381. And it's a back test of this resistance. So resistance trying to hold a support. So far, so good. Daily uptrend is our guide. When we lose it, we'll zoom out. We'll scout a weekly high or low because there's a lot of space for it to form. And bulls want to see this kind of volume. If we're going to break resistance and not just tighten up, you want to see this increasing weekly bull volume. You need that power to get through that resistance level that's a good bit of a ways away still. Yep, so that's when so ETH RSI really hot. Again, when I'm in blue sky, again, I know we're not in blue sky in many places, but when I'm treating it as if we are, overbought RSI doesn't mean much at all to me. I can say, okay, I don't want to long right now. I don't want to enter a long because we're way overextended on whatever time frame RSI. Okay, that's fine. But overextended RSI in itself is not a reason to short. I mean, look at what ETH just did back here, where we have RSI on the hourly in the 90s, and we did not consolidate. We kept grinding and then got another big leg up. There were people that were entering short because of the RSI. And granted, at that point in time, it wasn't as clear. We're in bull euphoria mode. But for it to just keep on going, it means something. So again, I switch on my trading market environment blue sky mode. And it's very different than when it's not blue sky mode. And the criteria that I mentioned, those are then activated. The back burners are the trades that we're looking for. Bearish patterns matter less. Overbought RSI matters less. It's a shift. We have to shift as traders to adjust to the different market environments. And clearly in the last 2 weeks, we're in a very different market environment than we were in the 2 months before it. Thank you for the likes, encouragement. Newton's law of momentum. TRB. Also, another thing we want to look at is laggards. If it's going to be a true bull market, we want to see the laggards, the names that haven't made big moves up, get their turn. You want to see bulls jumping around, taking profit here, throwing it into this name. And so, you can establish a game plan. When the dominance chart next sees a weekly bounce, I'm going to use that time period to be looking long these 3 coins that haven't run yet, but going to try and align the timing with that. That's one strategy as well. It was so much easier. I long for the days 2017, when you got 3 names, BTC, ETH, LTC, and that's all you got to focus on, it was so much easier to go one to the next. But there are a million different directions to be looking at right now, and it is so much harder to do that rotation game than it used to be. It's the funnel effect. Capital gets funneled into just a few things, and that's gone. There is no funnel effect. So it makes it much harder, which is why I know that I will never make as much money in altcoins as I did in 2017, because it's just not the same environment. I made a post on Twitter recently where I was showing the NASDAQ 5-minute time frame, and altcoins were doing the exact same thing as the NASDAQ. We were correlated. Why? Because Bitcoin was doing the same thing as the NASDAQ, and the altcoins were doing the same thing as Bitcoin. When the market is open from 9:30 a.m. Eastern to 4 p.m., it can be ignored. We can break the correlation, but there are so many instances where we just sync right up to the NASDAQ that it's definitely worth paying attention to. If you are trading in that time window, you've got to be aware of what the broader market is doing. Again, different game. 2017, not a factor at all. Very different. TRB. Again, daily uptrend, bull flag confirmed, so new key short-term support. 33.71 needs to hold for the bulls to keep their complete control. That was a really nice back test of resistance as support. Next resistance level, we're looking up at this zone. Just about to try and get in there. But 38, the upper 38s have a bunch of tops from here. When we lose the daily uptrend, we'll zoom out and we'll watch for a potential weekly high or low. We could say this name has not run as much, just in the sense that here's a mid-February top that we have not broken yet, 42.80. And you look at the names that have run, and we are nope, I take that back. Most names are not over that. I was thinking of this mid-March lower high that we are over. So I take that back. Most names are not breaking their mid-February resistance yet. So that's the next key to be watching. And again, I've said it a million times, I don't think that we see the kind of market environment from 2017, from 2021, where everything's just ripping hundreds of %. I do believe that making monster, life-changing gains in crypto gains will be harder every cycle, harder and harder each time. So I look at a name like TRB, are we going back to 400? I really don't think so. That's why I like to focus on names that are near blue sky breakout, because once we're in blue sky, we know the reward potential is much greater. And that's part of the reason why, again, some of these crypto stocks are running so hard, because CEP had no resistance. So the big money says, oh, we can ramp this thing up. And they do. And you'll see that time and time again, where it's the blue sky names that get chosen. ARM was an IPO and a semiconductor, but again, just ripping hundreds of % because it's easy to do that. Whereas, something like MU, we've got a ton of resistance to work through. Or AMD, I'm just using semiconductors now. We got all this resistance to work through, whereas something that's knocking on the door of blue sky, just rip it. So keep that mindset for altcoins as well. Anything that is near an all-time high gets a higher priority on the bull list than anything that's got to run hundreds of % to even get close. Thoughts on bump and run bottom reversal patterns? Honestly, I off the top of my head, I don't know what that is. Is that like an Adam and Eve? I'll have to look to see exactly what that looks like. Double bottom? That's a good question. First, we'll get XDC real quick, and then I'll answer. Again, it's just, I'm not saying these names can't run. But you look at this weekly bounce, and you compare that to so many other names, and it's just, this shows you bulls struggling significantly. Shorter term, yes, I would look for a daily high or low compared to 6.9. We have a nice tightening equilibrium. That tightening range must break bull. We've got an uptrending resistance line. Again, every bull break having zero follow through and going right into consolidation. So this was a rising wedge that confirmed long ago. Bull break straight into pullback. Bull break straight into pullback. This tightening range must break bull. So again, you can position, if I want to try and grab a laggard, okay, I can play for a daily high or low here. But again, because there's so many coins, finding the name that hasn't run yet that is going to run is extremely difficult. And it's almost, in my opinion, more worthwhile to wait until the bull raises its hand and tells you, hey, it's my turn. And even though it's already up a significant amount and you're not getting, a great entry near the lows, it's easier to ride that momentum. How much easier would it be to grab a ETH 10% move, maybe from 5-minute oversold, first 5-minute oversold conditions, and grab 10% from that versus trying to grab 10% on a name that isn't really doing much on its chart for the bulls. So it's tricky. The laggard game is not easy, again, because there's so many choices. It's easier if there's groupings, right? When Sand and Mana were doing their thing, it was a little bit easier to look from one to the other, or to look to metaverse names, or to look to, when you got the sub-sector to focus on, that narrows it down a good bit. But again, when you're just looking at which altcoins haven't run yet, and you've got 6,000 to choose from, very difficult in that environment. Thoughts on how do stockbrokers offer fee-free trading and Coinbase can't? Why would Coinbase want to offer fee-free trading? That is their cash cow. The reason stockbrokers did it is Robinhood forced them to. Competition forced them to. If you've got a major player that's offering you the majority of the benefits of all these old names, Fidelity, Schwab, whatever, and it's now zero, you've got to keep your customers or they're going over there. I spend 5 figures in fees. Why am I doing that when I can do it for free over here? And so competition forced a race to the bottom. It went $7.95 a trade, $6.95 a trade, $5.95, $4.95, zero. Because everybody just said, all right, we're zero now. And we got to find different ways to get the environment changed. The game changed for stockbrokers. And Coinbase doesn't have anybody. It's not a race to the bottom because they've got a moat in the US. And again, I look at Coin and I just really dislike their service. As you know, if you've been listening along, their customer service is terrible. A woman I dated for 4 years worked in customer service for Coinbase after I knew how terrible they were. I saw it from the inside, and they don't know what they're doing. It's a joke. So their customer service is terrible. The trading, I don't know how nobody bought FTX. I was looking at FTX when it was all the rage saying, man, I wish my broker did that, my platform, but I can't risk it. I want the FDIC insurance. I want to be safe. I can't risk it to go over there, which in hindsight was a good decision, but their platform, it was better than any stockbroker or any crypto platform. How has nobody bought that and just, I mean, Coinbase, buy that and just make it yours. And it would be such an improvement. Being able to place orders by clicking on the chart and having the full, abilities of all the different kinds of orders. Anyways, I've been waiting for 5 years, 7 years for somebody to give Coinbase competition, and it's just not happening. But that's what you need. They will only drop fees if there's competition. If they will lose people to the lower fee, then they got to do something. If that's not a risk, they're not doing a thing. They're rolling in your fees. Am I more or less aggressive during blue sky mode? Back in the day, that was as aggressive as I could possibly be. 2017, I was all in with 95% plus of my net worth on a Bitcoin all-time high break, and we go 10% like that. I would be all in back burners. Very, very different. I will be my most, I'm in conservative mode. And I have been for years because, again, my mindset is I've been fortunate enough to have my life changed by profits. I'm not giving that back. You see so many people in the crypto world blow up, leverage, whatever. That will never happen to me. I'm not allowing that to be any kind of possibility. The only possibility would be total collapse and then everybody loses everything. But it'll be my most aggressive, but in the context of being conservative. Again, the back burner trade strategy, which easily has the majority of my profits as a trader, was born in blue sky environments, just through observation. Every time this happens, it's a high probability setup. I'm going to start utilizing that. Crypto trading is very hard. There's no doubt about that. It's not what it used to be. What is the advice for learning resources? So obviously, we've got on our website, go to Google Chart Guy's Roadmap. And there's a ton of free resources, step by step. Go through all this stuff. That'll take you a dozen hours. Then we've got another couple dozen hours of content to then go through from there. In addition to that, you got other good sources out there. Honestly, I don't consume enough content because I don't have time to these days be able to point to you. I know that crypto... Is it Crown or Cown? Crown. Eric. He's got a solid channel. I like Trader Main. I like his mindset. You can tell when the trader has the right mindset, not by the trades that they post, but by how they talk, how they approach the psychology and talk about the psychology as to whether or not they grasp what trading is. And those are definitely two of them. But yeah, it's tricky. I'd go through our content, find the concepts, and if our content doesn't dive into the concept as much as you like or you want more information, then you use that as a go to AI and dig deeper there. That's the way it goes. If you're, congrats on the win. If you're up 500% real quick, the only way you're going to achieve those kinds of gains is by exposing yourself to significant risk, which is nothing wrong with that. Again, Blue Sky 2017, I had massive risk on in the sense that, I started with my net worth at X dollars. And then my net worth goes up 3,000% in 6 months. But while I'm doing that, if I were to take a big loss in my aggressive mode, I would have given back 5x, 5 of what my net worth was at the start. Because my mindset was, I'm going to keep pedal to the metal until I see a big loss that tells me stop. And then that's it. Because I've already exceeded my goal that if I take a big step back, it's still all gravy. But until that big step back happens, more. Just ride that momentum, keep doing it until it stops working. So your stop happened quickly, but again, if you're exposing yourself to the potential of going 500% in a short period of time, you're gonna expose yourself to a 50% loss in that process. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Do I want to have significant risk to allow for those significant rewards? I'll never have that percentage loss, but I'll also never go 500x again in any, it would take me years to go 500% at this point. So it's risk and reward are directly correlated in the sense that you don't get one without the other. And so you just have to determine the approach that you want to take. Do you want to have the possibility for hundreds of percent gains and also the possibility of that big loss? And how do you manage that? Did ETH break? I don't want to jinx a double top. Grinding still. Thanks, Brandon. SEP. So would I stay away from CEP now? Again, this Mahler stock. I mean, we got a double bottom, but I would need to know more of the fundamentals, which I don't offhand, which is when is the stock deal taking place and the ticker change taking place? How many shares are going to unlock when that happens and could potentially be sold? Those are very important details. Right now, all I care about are these two levels, 27.53. I mean, the most likely scenario is eventually a weekly high or low. We're going to look for the standard equilibrium in that kind of volatility where we look for the higher low, then we'll look for a lower high. So you can trade it, but you need those details that I don't have. And again, use AI to help you dig and get that information. Big Ched, yeah, thank you. Crown. So Eric Crown, Big Cheds, forgot Cheds, Bob Lucas. Haven't seen a ton of Bob Lucas's stuff, but I'd be open to exploring it for sure. How much more does this market have in it? So the next most important question is, do the NASDAQ and S&P 500 hit all-time highs within the next 1 to 2 months? If yes, we got more legs. Bitcoin's already hit all-time highs. Well, no, not recently. Prior, it already hit all-time highs. So that's the next bit of information that I'm looking at. S&P 500 and NASDAQ. And also, again, during consolidation, we get information as well. How much weekly retracement, when Bitcoin sees next weekly retracement, how much do we get back? Or any altcoin? If it's 40% retracement or less, then that's just fine. And if we set a higher low after 40% retracement, then bulls are still A-okay and in control. So we look for that retracement information as well. Don't know Crypto Crew University. All right, I got to wrap it up. I'm headed to road trip down to Florida. Music festival. But I'll be back next week, next Tuesday, to check in on where we stand. And again, bulls are still in complete control at this point. We're in a mindset right now where the burden is on bears to prove to us that something is different. And if we keep setting daily higher lows, nothing is different. We know the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are going to have to see some daily consolidation sooner rather than later. We've got tons of space for daily higher lows there. I'll be very curious how crypto responds the next daily consolidation. Do we pull back with it? Do we ignore it? But again, that needs to be the dominance top. And we need to get this alt party going because, again, euphoria is creeping back in after fear has been significantly alleviated. If Bitcoin new all-time high, we want 112 plus. Got to follow through. So we got 109 last one. At least 112 plus. Which again, I wouldn't mind. Give me a cup and handle. I wouldn't mind a cup and handle. Fail the all-time. If we fail the all-time high, just hold weekly EMA 12 for a weekly bull flag. PLTR, weekly cup and handle. It's okay if we do that. Nothing wrong with that. Again, where we stand, I'm waiting for weekly consolidation to add more crypto exposure, whether it's stock or IBIT or however I do it. After grabbing some a few weeks ago. So don't fear weekly consolidation as long as it's healthy. Ideally, hold that 382 retracement, keep a weekly bull flag in play. But if Bitcoin gives us that cup and handle, well, we'll know. We'll know next week or the week after. And I'll be talking about it. Thanks again. Appreciate the likes. Do good things. And we'll see you next time. Coin got a new high. Still running. Again, even if you're not in coin, even if you're not in MSTR, even if you're focused over here, everything's tied together. You want everything to be doing well. A lot of people are going to look at coin and say, oh, I don't have any. I wish it would stop going up. I feel FOMO. I'm missing out. No, that's good. You want the people making hundreds of millions, the big money, to say, okay, crypto's where it's at. I want to put my money to work in crypto, wherever it is. Peace.